Hey folks, how's it going? Zach here. Got another video for all of you today. In honor of International Women's Day, I thought I'd talk a little bit about Captain Marvel and Brie Larson, especially a lot of her recent comments surrounding man-hating and the industry that has obviously cultivated such a flourishing and awesome career for her, even though she obviously puts the blame on a lot of white men. And coincidentally, the movie today opens up in theaters this weekend on International Women's Day, and I don't think that that was an accident. I think that this was all intentional and something that was part of a bigger aspect to push feminist issues forward and push more of the man-hating. And this is where I want to get into the nuances a little bit, because, it's 2019 and the SJWs, especially the feminists, aren't really toning down their behavior. With every passing aspect where there's opportunities to attack men, they take advantage of it, whether it's with Gillette, instances in the Women's March with reproductive rights, to the point now where we have infanticides in certain states. And, even with the recent Kavanaugh hearings, with every reason to believe a woman based on the merit of their testimony and not based on facts. And unfortunately, for several decades, I've noticed that because I've been around for several decades, but from a lot of the perspectives I've heard from women, from, different generations, the aspect of representation and empowerment is always something that's a little bit different. And this is where Captain Marvel gets it wrong, but maybe other movies like Wonder Woman, for example, get a little bit right. I'm not saying I'm a fan of the movie, even though I did go see it and it was entertaining. Unfortunately, the takeaways from a lot of these movies are going to be what is relatable for women, what is relatable for even men, as far as what they're going to take away and feel empowered for. Unfortunately, with someone like Brie Larson, because she is in a position where she's talking about being this hero, a hero for young women, the thing here is that strength, unfortunately, in her perspective as an SJW, means empowerment for women, diversity for women, and all of that, but at the same time pushing down men as a result. And when we've seen the most powerful messages that are pushed forward when it comes to really empowering women, it has never really been in a perspective where we have to push down men in order for women to speak up. Some of the most effective movies, right? Take Wonder Woman for an example, was able to deliver on female empowerment and female strength without it being blatantly hating towards white men. And unfortunately, this is where the consequences of Miss Larson's actions has led her. Bad reviews for the movie, and in a weird way, because of her behavior, tainting the overall tone of a movie, especially because it hasn't even come out yet. She's already set the precedence for what type of movie this is going to be, because it's exclusively about feminist ideology and the idea that now there is a woman who is a superhero as something that young girls can look up to, that they don't need men and that they can effectively push men out of the picture. But they can't. Men run the industry, and even though she has complained about white men being, the sole people that she's continually being interviewed by, they're the ones that are effectively pushing this forward. But the idea here, when it comes to inspiring change to a younger audience, to people who are going to be watching movies, is going to be in the takeaway. It's going to be in the implicit things that Brie Larson doesn't say. Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman was able to empower women, able to actually bring some entertaining action for a lot of people, and that was like the biggest movie of 2017. It inspired a lot of people, but she didn't put down men in doing so, and as a result, the movie did very well. And that's the thing, is when we look at people that are portrayed in heroism and we see relatable aspects to that character on the film, we are going to take from them into our own personal lives how we tend to feel empowered. And I think Captain Marvel, had Brie Larson not made comments like that, would have had that effect on a lot of young women and a lot of girls if she didn't make it political. Because that's what it's about. What Brie Larson has done is that she has demanded how movies should be portrayed, how we want to represent ourselves as women, and is now operating on the mindset of collectivism, thinking that all women want to hear these things. All women are feminists, and all women, in order to be successful, we need to rid ourselves of the patriarchy. Not every woman feels that way, and as a result, you have created this exposition with the movie. Now we're going to go into it thinking that this is a woman who is obviously trying to rid the world of ignorant white males. Ignorant white males made your career, Brie Larson. ignorant white males are probably also the people that funded the movie. And if you truly wanted to make a platform where it was really singularly on empowering women, perhaps maybe you would just go and do your own thing with women, but no. That's where the convenience comes in with feminism, and that, hey, fund our movies, but then it's actually about us. It's about empowering women. And that's the thing. I'm not a feminist. I've spoken out a lot about, just the aspects of feminism that I think are inherently toxic. But at the same time, we don't have to excuse, man-hating. We don't have to put that in a place where we're man-hating in order for women and female empowerment to get its way. But not at the expense of men. Not at the expense of man-hating. And unfortunately, when you come into a space that is predominantly dominated by men, that is something that you just need to understand. There's just going to be more men in your industry, and if you're sick and tired of seeing it, as Bill Burr famously said, go start your own thing. Go do your own thing. It's the problem when women try to be men, and they try to push forward a lot of these issues and break into an industry that is dominated by a certain sex, and then complain about it, is where it's a problem. But if you go in and you are actually advocating for change without pushing people aside, and based on the strength of your merit, the strength of your message, people are going to connect with that. That's ultimately is what's going to speak through. But when you act like an SJW, and in fact, I didn't even know this until I looked up Brie Larson. She's actually very young. I had no idea she was only like 4 or 5 years older than me. I thought she was, to be honest, in her mid-30s or something, but it makes sense. She's from the north, she's from Sacramento, obviously from California, and this is what she's been indoctrinated with. She's a millennial. But the last thing I'll say, just to reiterate it, is that when it comes to empowering women, especially, on a day like today, and you want to go about inspiring women, why do you have to hate on men? How does this going to create a position of diversity when you want to expense somebody else's just to get your message through? If it speaks to people, it's going to speak to people. You don't have to say these things in order for it to be empowering for women. You don't have to actually be hating on men for women to feel like they can have strength. And you don't have to advocate for diversity in order for people from different races to feel like they can connect with you. But when you do it like this and you antagonize, now we're going to go into it thinking, well, this is just feminist propaganda. I don't feel empowered. I feel like this is just liberal bias all over again. And the last thing, I know I keep all going on about a lot of these points, the last thing is that politics should just stay the hell out of the art form. Politics should just stay out of it explicitly in movies, in media, and art. And when it comes to politics, unless it was intended that way, people are going to look at it and be able to think for themselves. The problem with these people stating and being overly political is that, they don't trust their audiences anymore. But I don't blame them. With today's politicized climate, it's almost like you have to actually talk about what you believe in politically to feel like it's going to further your career. But in every instance, we've seen that it's backfired. People are sick and tired of hearing it. If it's political, people are going to interpret your art, interpret your message for themselves, and feel inspired in that way. If you dictate how the meaning or whatever message you're pushing forward in your movies, wouldn't you think that that actually lessens the integrity of your message? How are people going to relate? How is a young girl going to find courage and strength in your movie if she's in a position where maybe she's dealing with an abusive relationship, or maybe she's feeling like she has a voice and she doesn't feel brave enough to express it? How is the white man oppressing them as a group? How is a white man preventing her from getting ahead when you're so incentivized to go out and do things on your own and you're actually praised for doing so? We can be advocates for women's rights. We can be advocates for diversity without it having being all SJW and man-hating. And that's my takeaway, For those of you who are deciding to go and see the movie, I encourage you to think of it for yourself and then let me know what you think. As of right now, these common themes of strength and everything are not being portrayed because it's strength due to insecurity. It's strength due to liberal bias. And it's not doing very well. We're already seeing it backfire. Clearly, these people need to take a hint. And, when it comes to just feminist issues in general, I don't think that we need it. Women are doing pretty well, Despite the patriarchy, I can't really think of ways where women actually have it so bad that they need to be hating on white men. But it is the popular thing these days. It's popular for a while. And then they realized that, you know, when it comes to really supporting women, you kind of need men. Just being honest. But anyways, hope you guys got something out of this video. Be sure to leave this video a like and a comment. Let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.